Hey, would you like to see an actual example of how the Bulletproof bookkeeping process works? I'm not talking about the process itself. I've given you many examples of that in the previous 4 videos. I mean in terms of the results you get. This can come in many forms, so in order to illustrate this from a 360-degree point of view, I'm going to share with you a few short stories on this. In the last 4 videos, I covered a lot. You might even be thinking I've given it all away. I assure you I haven't. The course has over 13 hours of video in there and counting. I'm going to add more. If you somehow landed directly on this video and you haven't seen the previous 4, go back. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Is it still $200 in Monopoly? Anyway, go straight back to video number 1. You don't want to miss this important information. Now I'm going to do something different here. I'm going to share 2 accounts from my own direct experience. Then I want you to watch a clip from one of the first people who signed up from the Bulletproof Bookkeeping course. Listen to what she has to say. It's pretty powerful stuff, especially when you consider that her business is mature. She's experienced and she still says that she learns a lot. But first I want to share with you something that can be really scary and extremely stressful. The first time I had a client who went through an IRS audit. There are many different kinds of businesses. She was a sole proprietor, which means that she doesn't have an LLC or a corp or any kind of legal entity set up. She was just doing business as herself. Her name is Laura. That's actually her real name, but as long as I don't tell you her last name or the name of her business, I'm pretty sure we can protect her anonymity here. As a sole proprietor, you have a much higher chance of getting audited. Did you know that? It's good information to have, especially because with that information you can better advise your clients. Laura was selected for an audit. There are different levels. This was what is known as a desk audit. It's a simple audit. They don't come on site to review any information. They ask some questions, and if we can answer to their satisfaction, then all is good. Otherwise, they might expand the audit and then come on site. No matter what the scope, this is a really stressful experience for anyone to go through. You don't know what's going to happen, and you have all kinds of fears running around through your mind. Am I going to owe a ton of taxes that I can't afford to pay? Will this shut my business down? I had been Laura's consultant for years. She actually did a lot of the bookkeeping herself. I'd come in once a month, reconcile her accounts, and clean things up. Laura would complain to me sometimes that she thought I was being overly detailed and it wasn't necessary. When I would attempt to review her balance sheet with her, she didn't want to see it. She only wanted to look at her profit and loss. She just wanted to know how much money she made, or as the case was, how much she lost. Still, I made sure the balance sheet was accurate because, as I pointed out in the last video, this is how I substantially make sure that the profit and loss is accurate. In fact, this was the core issue that the IRS was looking at. You see, Laura had filed with losses for several years running, so her returns were kicked out for an audit. And the question's obvious. How are you still in business? You see, the numbers have to tell the right story, and so often they don't because the books aren't bulletproof. I'm going to use some rough numbers here to illustrate how we were able to satisfy the auditor quickly and minimize the amount of stress for my client. Let's say that Laura had run losses for 4 years straight, and that the losses were as follows. Year 1, $25,000. Year 2, $10,000. Year 3, $5,000. Year 4, again, $10,000. If you add that up, the cumulative losses come out to $50,000, right? The IRS's question was a good and fair question, and I had an answer for them. And guess where it was? Yep, you guessed it. It was on the balance sheet. Now, when you file a tax return for a sole proprietor, there's no balance sheet. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't keep one, and you're about to learn a really good reason why. When I looked at the liability section of Laura's balance sheet, guess how much debt she had? Between her credit cards and a line of credit that she used for the business, yep, it was just about $50,000. The fact of the matter was that Laura had financed those losses with debt. So we wrote a letter to the IRS and explained this to the auditor, and we included a copy of the P&L he had already seen, but now we also included the balance sheet. This brought the audit to a quick close. My client was ecstatic, and she still didn't care about the balance sheet. She didn't need to, though. She knew that I had it covered. J. Abraham defines the word client as somebody who's under your protection. Laura was my client, and she was definitely under my protection. If she didn't know it before, she definitely knew it now. As a bookkeeper, your job is to protect the business from everything. Theft, losses, missed opportunities. Speaking of not missing opportunities, here's a short video I made a few years back about a client who had hired me to help him put together his set of bulletproof books so that he could obtain financing from the bank to purchase a property to expand his business operations. Hey, Seth David here. I want to talk to you about my CFO support package and what it recently did for my client here, Mike Wright, who wrote this on Facebook for me because he was so happy about what I was able to do for him. And the thing is, I don't take the credit for it. Mike really deserves the credit. What he did was he signed up for my CFO support
support package, and he actually showed up. We scheduled our session for the same time pretty much every single week, and every week for an hour and a half, we worked together to get his financial statements cleaned up, to get his books cleaned up, so that the financial statements could be presented to the bank. And once we were able to do that, he presented those financial statements to the bank, and the bank gave him the financing he needed to purchase this elementary school, which happened to be closing down over where he's at in Butler, Pennsylvania.
Clients like my client Laura may tell you that it's not that important to be overly detailed. Don't listen to them. Clients don't know what they don't know, and oftentimes you have to protect them from themselves. Above, I gave you 2 examples of what a set of Bulletproof books can do for you. Get out of an audit clean and get financing to expand your business operations. I can give you many more examples, but at a certain point, you're just going to have to dive in and learn for yourself. What began to happen for me over the years, with experience after experience, like what I've described above, was that my confidence skyrocketed. But here's another reason why my confidence had skyrocketed over the years. As I worked with more and more companies and the CPAs and enrolled agents who reviewed the books that I prepared to do the tax returns, I started to get a lot of referrals. In fact, I got a ton of them because they so rarely see books put together so well. It can be very frustrating when a CPA gets a crappy set of books. They're up to their eyeballs in tax returns, and the last thing they want to spend their time doing is fixing up a set of books so they can get a tax return done. When you're the one bookkeeper who consistently sends in an ultra clean, bulletproof set of books, guess who they are going to think of when they run into a client who needs the kind of help that you can clearly provide. Finally, I want to give you a clip, as promised, from one of the first people who signed up for the Bulletproof Bookkeeping course. I'd like to have you hear from some other people who are already taking this course. What I would love to do is have somebody who's been through the course a little bit talk to us for a few minutes. I'd like to hear from you. I haven't actually had a chance yet to really talk to anybody who's been taking the course. Lisa, are you still with us?
I am.
Would you mind, because I know you were one of the early signups, and so I'm hoping by now you've had a chance to go through some of it and that you can kind of share some of your thoughts with us.
Sure. And I have gone through some of it. I just haven't gone through as much as I'd like to have by now. But, you know, this is actually one of the things I actually really like about the course is that you get to do it at your own speed. And so as Seth showed earlier, most sessions are about 30 minutes, some are 15. So you can bite it off in bite sizes for all of our busy schedules. So if you have an hour, do an hour. If you have 15, do 15. And Seth said earlier, you know, if you're more advanced, maybe you don't want to go through the beginning sessions. I've been doing QuickBooks and QuickBooks Online probably the last 3-4 years, but QuickBooks for over 10. I still think there's value in going through even the beginning ones. There's Excel tips and tricks. He shows a little bit of SASANT. I have FOMO. I hate missing what Seth teaches because, and I would be remiss, you guys know I have to say it, you got to go for the golden nuggets.
Go for the nuggets.
You got to go for the nuggets. And for those of you who are not here, I got to tell you what golden nuggets are because this is something for our 97 and up group. Seth often teaches, and as he's teaching, he will casually mention something or show us something that's not part of the lesson plan at all. And it has huge value to so many of us that we've never seen before. And we'll stop, go back. What was that? And it can be life-changing or just a simple thing that can just save you time and just make your life easier. Actually, one of the things he showed me was Google Keep made my husband's and my life easier. So I don't know. I do think there's a lot of value for all levels, and it is for basic, but I do think it's also for advanced. Seth showed earlier that the great advantage of the, I don't know, actually, did you show that? Let me mention it. If he didn't show it, I have to remember. With each of the videos he has, there's notes. He has notes underneath each section. So you can skim it and see if it's something that you want to look at. But I like to take notes when I'm learning, but he also has it all there for you. And it's laid out so nicely. And as he mentioned, the search option, you can search for something if you're looking for something specific. And the other valuable thing, as Seth mentioned earlier too, and I just think this is almost priceless. If you buy a book and you learn from the author, you're never going to talk to the author. If you go to a presentation and you're in, whether it's live or online, you're there with an hour and you get to speak to the presenter. This is something unique that Seth is always available to us. And as he mentioned, 24 hours or even sooner, he's going to get back to you. And so that, I think, is a huge piece to always have, be able to reach out to the instructor. And the other huge piece that I think is so valuable is this is not done. Seth will keep adding to it. So I actually don't know of any course that you can buy and then it keeps growing. And there's no additional fee. It's just part of the package. So if anybody's hesitant or thinking, do I want to spend the $500? I'm telling you, it's going to be the best $500 you ever spent. So get it before the coupon expires. So I've enjoyed it. I encourage you all to check it out if you haven't.
I hope you enjoyed what Lisa had to share. She's been in my 97 and up program, and she signed up for the Bulletproof bookkeeping course long before it had been completed. Imagine having this resource at your disposal anytime, and you never have to worry about losing it because it's lifetime access. It's like having a book on the shelf that you can take out anytime you want, but it plays videos that teach you the things that you need to learn and keep up with in order to put together a set of bulletproof books. Imagine the clients you'll keep instead of losing or outsourcing them because you didn't have the experience to know how to handle all of their needs. To keep the clients you get, you need the right resource at your disposal. An online reference library where you can find what you need when you need it in order to support every client that walks in your door, no matter how complex. And a forum included where you can ask all the questions you want. If I've had the experience, you're welcome to it. Now, I'm offering some additional bonuses, including some focused time with me, but I can only do this for so many people at once. I hope you understand that this is a limited and rare opportunity because I'm only one person and I can only take on so much. If I overburden myself, it isn't fair to those of you who've signed up. This is literally the most robust bookkeeping resource I've ever created, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I believe it's the most robust bookkeeping resource on the internet. Others offer you the bookkeeping and marketing skills in one. These are such completely different processes that I don't know how you can offer both in one program without diluting one or both of them. So I have a separate program for that when you're ready. But first, we need to learn the skills. If you do it the other way around, it lacks integrity. It means you're going to go out there and offer to take people's money and do something for them that you lack the experience and the skills needed in order to be able to do it properly. I'm a big believer in integrity. Integrity is the one thing nobody can take away from you. In the next video, I'll give you very specific instructions for how you can secure your spot in my bonus Bulletproof bookkeeping program. There's nothing more rewarding for me than seeing the lights come on in the eyes of the people who put their faith in me to help them. I hope I can get that opportunity with you. I'll see you in the next video.